The image is grainy, black, and white, taken from orbit by a KH-9 reconnaissance satellite in February 1979. It shows a frozen lake in the middle of Siberia, so remote that it doesn't appear on most civilian maps. They call it Black Lake, not because of its water, but because of what lies beneath the ice. At first glance, it looks like any other frozen body of water, a pale oval surrounded by dense forest and rocky outcrops. But then the officer taps his finger on three distinct shadows beneath the ice. They're massive, each one easily the length of a football field, and they are not stationary. The next photograph, taken 6 hours later, shows them in different positions. "Captain Steele," the officer says. His voice is flat, rehearsed. "What you are looking at has been designated Project Coldwater. Your mission is to verify what our satellites have detected and report back. Nothing more, nothing less." I stare at the shadows and feel something turn cold in my chest. What are they? That is what you are going to find out. My name is Captain Jonathan Steele, 38 years old, 15 years in the United States Army with specializations in reconnaissance and cold weather operations. I have been to places most people will never know exist and seen things that will never appear in history books. But nothing in my career prepared me for Black Lake. 3 days later, I am standing on the tarmac at Elmendorf Air Force Base in Alaska with 3 others who have been cleared for Coldwater. The wind cuts through our parkas like knives. Snow blows horizontal across the runway. Our transport, a modified C-130, sits ready with engines warming. Lieutenant Sarah Blake is the first to approach. 30 years old, satellite imaging specialist with a background in geophysics. She carries herself with the quiet confidence of someone who trusts data more than instinct. Her eyes are sharp, always calculating. When she shakes my hand, her grip is firm. "Captain," she says, "I have been analyzing the orbital data for 3 weeks. Whatever is under that ice, it is not geological." "Then what is it?" "That is why we are going." Sergeant Viktor Petrov is next, 35, field engineer with extensive experience in Russian terrain. He grew up in Murmansk before his family emigrated in the 60s. He speaks fluent Russian and knows the land better than any American I have met. His face is weathered, scarred from frostbite during a training exercise in Norway. He nods at me but does not smile. "I have heard stories about Black Lake," he says quietly. "Local hunters avoid it. They say the ice sings at night." "Folklore," I reply. "Maybe. But folklore comes from somewhere. The last member of our team is Private Alexei Romanov, 22 years old, fresh out of advanced infantry training. He requested this assignment specifically because of his family connection to the region. His grandfather was a Soviet geologist who worked in Siberia during the 50s. Alexei is young, eager, and visibly nervous. He checks his gear 3 times before we board. We lift off at 0400 hours. The flight is long, brutal, and silent. We refuel twice, once in Nome and again at a classified airstrip in the Kamchatka Peninsula. By the time we cross into Soviet airspace, flying so low the radar cannot track us, the cabin feels like a tomb. No one speaks. We only sit in the dim red light and listen to the engines roar. Sarah breaks the silence first. "Captain, there is something you need to see." She pulls a folder from her pack and spreads satellite images across her lap. I lean in close. The photographs show Black Lake in different seasons: spring, summer, autumn, winter. In every image, the shadows are there, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. In one particularly clear shot from August 1978, the water is unfrozen, and the shapes are visible just beneath the surface. They look organic, curved, almost serpentine. The thermal signature is inconsistent with any known aquatic species, Sarah says. Too large, too deep, and the movement patterns do not match migration behavior. Could they be submarines? Soviet subs are accounted for, Besides, Black Lake has no navigable connection to the sea. It is landlocked, completely isolated. Victor leans over and studies the images. His jaw tightens. If they are not subs and not animals, then what? Sarah does not answer. She only folds the images and slides them back into the folder. The silence that follows feels heavier than before. We land on a frozen river delta 40 kilometers west of Black Lake. The pilot does not shut down the engines. He just waves us out and keeps the props spinning. The moment my boots hit the ice, the cold slams into me like a fist. -30 degrees Celsius, maybe colder. The wind screams across the open terrain, carrying snow that stings exposed skin. Our gear is offloaded in less than 3 minutes. Tents, rations, communications equipment, scientific instruments, and enough fuel to last 2 weeks. The plane lifts off immediately, disappearing into the gray sky. The sound of the engines fades fast, leaving only the wind and the crunch of our boots on the ice. Home sweet home, Victor mutters. We set up camp a kilometer from the frozen river, sheltered by a line of stunted pines. The tents are military grade, reinforced for extreme cold, but even inside them the air feels hostile. Alexei struggles with the stakes. His hands shake. Not from the cold, but from something else. Fear, maybe. I help him finish, then step back and scan the horizon. The landscape is bleak. Endless white, broken only by patches of dark forest. The sky is a flat sheet of gray that seems to press down on everything. There is no sun, only a pale glow that barely counts as daylight. And somewhere beyond the tree line, hidden beneath meters of ice, is Black Lake. Captain, Sarah is setting up the satellite relay. I need to run a baseline scan before we move closer. It will take an hour. Do it. While Sarah works, Victor and I scout the perimeter. The snow here is deep, untouched, except for animal tracks. Foxes, maybe wolves. Nothing human. The forest is silent. No birds, no wind through the branches. Just the low hiss of snow sliding off frozen bark. You ever feel like you are being watched? Victor asks. I glance at him. Constantly. No, I mean, really watched. Like something is tracking your every move. I stop and turn in a slow circle. The tree line is still. The sky is empty, but Victor is right. There is a weight to the air here, a pressure that feels deliberate. Stay sharp, I say. We do not know what we are walking into. By the time we return to camp, Sarah has the relay online. She calls us into the command tent, where a portable monitor glows with green phosphor light. Radar scans of Black Lake fill the screen. This is real-time imaging, she explains. I am using ground-penetrating radar combined with satellite thermal overlay. The ice is approximately 4 meters thick. Beneath that, the water depth ranges from 20 to 40 meters, depending on the location. And the shadows? She taps the screen. 3 distinct shapes appear, darker than the surrounding water. They are massive, each one at least 60 meters in length. One is near the southern shore. Another is deeper, closer to the center. The third is positioned almost directly beneath where we will set up our observation post. They are moving, Sarah says quietly. Not fast, but consistently. Every 6 hours, they shift position. It is like they are patrolling. Alexei leans closer, his breath fogging the screen. Patrolling what? That is what we need to find out. I study the shapes and feel that same cold weight settle in my chest. What about Soviet activity? Any signs they know about this? Sarah pulls up another image. This one shows a cluster of old structures on the northern shore of the lake. Wooden huts, a collapsed watchtower, and a rusted antenna mast. Abandoned research station, she says. Built in 1952, decommissioned in 1957. According to declassified records, it was part of a hydrological survey project. But the reports are incomplete. Whatever they found here, they did not document it. Or they did and buried it, Victor adds. Either way, we are not the first ones to look. That night, we sit in the command tent, around a portable heater that barely keeps the frost from forming on the walls. Rations are heated over chemical packs. Coffee is brewed strong and tastes like rust. No one speaks much. We are all thinking the same thing. Tomorrow, we go to the lake. Alexei writes in a small notebook, his pen scratching quietly. I watch him for a moment, then ask, "What are you writing?" He looks up, startled. "Just notes. My grandfather used to keep journals when he worked in Siberia. I thought I would do the same." "What did he write about?" "Mostly geology, rock formations, mineral deposits. But there was one entry he never explained. He mentioned a lake where the water never froze completely, even in the coldest winters. He called it the Breathing Lake." "Black Lake?" "He never named it, but the description matches." I let the word settle. Breathing Lake. It is just folklore, I tell myself. Old stories passed down by men who spent too long in isolation. But the image on Sarah's screen flashes through my mind. 3 massive shapes moving beneath the ice like they have purpose. "Get some sleep," I say. We move at first light. But sleep does not come easy. I lie in my tent with the cold pressing in from all sides and listen to the wind drag across the fabric. Somewhere in the distance, I hear a sound that does not belong. It is faint, almost buried under the wind, but it is there, a low, resonant hum that pulses like a heartbeat. I sit up and check my watch, 0200 hours. I pull on my parka and step outside. The sky is black, scattered with stars that feel too far away to matter. The hum is louder out here. Not mechanical, not animal, something else. Victor is already standing by the heater, rifle slung across his chest. He nods when he sees me. "You hear it too." "What is it?" "I do not know, but it is coming from the lake." We stand there in silence, listening to the hum rise and fall like breath. And for the first time since landing in Siberia, I understand what Alexei's grandfather meant. The lake is not just frozen, it is alive. Morning comes without sunrise. The sky shifts from black to gray, but the light never truly arrives. It just sits there, weak and distant, like it is afraid to get too close to the ground. I wake to the sound of Victor breaking ice off the tent stakes. My breath fog inside the sleeping bag. Every joint aches from the cold. "Captain," Victor calls, "you need to see this." I pull myself out of the bag and dress quickly. Layers. Always layers. Base, insulation, shell. By the time I step outside, my body is wrapped so tight I can barely bend my arms. The cold still finds a way through. Victor stands at the edge of the camp, staring east. I follow his gaze and freeze. The tree line has changed, not dramatically, but enough to notice. A line of pines that stood perfectly straight yesterday now leans inward, all of them tilted toward the lake like iron filings drawn to a magnet. The snow around their bases is compressed in strange patterns, not footprints, something else. Drag marks, maybe, or pressure from below. "Ice shift?" I ask. "Ice does not bend trees." He is right. I have seen frost heave in ground settlement, but nothing like this. The trees look like they were pulled, not pushed. And the angle is too uniform, too deliberate. Sarah emerges from her tent with equipment cases under both arms. She stops when she sees the trees, but does not comment. She just sets the cases down and begins unpacking without a word. "We are moving to the observation point," I say. "Load up." We leave in 20 minutes. Alexei is the last to wake. His face is pale, eyes red from lack of sleep. He moves slowly, like every step costs him. When I ask if he is all right, he nods but does not meet my eyes. "Just a bad dream," he mutters. "What about?" "The ice cracking, and something underneath pulling me down." I want to tell him it was just a dream, but the words catch in my throat. Instead, I hand him a ration pack. "Eat. We have a long day ahead." We break camp and load the gear onto sleds. 2 sleds, each packed with 300 pounds of equipment. Victor and I take the lead ropes. Sarah and Alexei follow behind with rifles slung and eyes scanning the horizon. The snow is deep here, almost to the knee, and every step feels like dragging weight through concrete. The journey to Black Lake takes 2 hours. The forest closes in around us as we move east. The trees are dense, twisted, their branches heavy with ice. No wind moves through them. No sound except the crunch of our boots and the scrape of the sleds. The silence is so complete, it feels like the world has stopped breathing. When we break through the tree line, the lake spreads out before us like a wound in the earth. It is larger than the satellite images suggested, at least 3 kilometers across, maybe more. The ice is smooth, almost glass-like, with faint cracks running through it like veins. The surface glows with a pale blue light that seems to come from beneath. No snow covers the ice here. It has all been blown clear, leaving the frozen water exposed and strangely reflective. "Jesus," Alexei whispers. Sarah sets down her case and pulls out a handheld thermal scanner. She sweeps it across the lake, then checks the readout. Her face tightens. "Thermal activity is off the charts," she says. "The ice should be colder than the surrounding air. But it is warmer. Not by much, but enough to register." "Geothermal?" I ask. "No volcanic activity in this region. And the heat is not coming from below the lake bed. It is coming from within the water itself." Victor kneels and presses his gloved hand against the ice. It is vibrating. I drop to one knee and do the same. He is right. A faint, steady pulse runs through the ice like a current. It is so subtle, I almost miss it. But once I feel it, I cannot unfeel it. The rhythm is too regular, too controlled. "Set up the observation post," I order. "We need data before we move on to the ice." We establish our base 30 meters from the shore. 2 tents, one for equipment and one for shelter. Sarah assembles the radar array while Victor sets up the communications relay. Alexei and I unpack the drilling rig. It is a compact unit designed for ice core sampling, but we will use it to measure thickness and water clarity. By midday, the radar is online. Sarah pulls up the live feed, and we crowd around the monitor. The shapes are clearer now. 3 distinct masses, each one hovering between 15 and 20 meters below the surface. They are not moving, but the thermal signature is strong, bright red on the display, indicating active heat generation. "Biological?" I ask. "Unknown. But if these are living organisms, they are unlike anything cataloged. The size alone is unprecedented. What about mechanical?" "Possible, but there is no metallic signature, and the movement patterns we observed yesterday were too fluid for submersibles." Victor leans closer. Zoom in on the southern shape. Sarah adjusts the resolution. The image sharpens, and I see something that makes my stomach turn. The shape is not smooth. It has texture, ridges running along its length, protrusions that could be limbs or appendages, and at one end, a structure that looks disturbingly like a head. "That is organic," Victor says quietly. "Or designed to look organic," Sarah counters. "Why would anyone design something to look like that?" No one answers. I step back from the monitor and stare out at the ice. The pale blue glow is stronger now, almost luminescent, and beneath it I swear I see movement. Not fast, not sudden, just a slow, deliberate shift in the light, as if something massive is circling just out of sight. "We drill," I say. "We get a sample of the water and analyze it. Maybe that will tell us what we are dealing with." Victor and I haul the drilling rig onto the ice. The surface is slick, treacherous. Every step feels like walking on glass. We set up 50 meters from shore, directly above where the radar shows open water. The drill bit is diamond-tipped, designed to cut through 4 meters of ice in under an hour. We start drilling at 1400 hours. The bit screams as it chews into the ice, throwing up white powder that sparkles in the pale light. Victor monitors the depth gauge while I control the feed rate. The vibration I felt earlier grows stronger as we go deeper. By the time we hit 2 meters, my hands are numb from the resonance. "Depth check," I call. 2.5 meters, halfway there. I glance back at the observation post. Sarah is watching through binoculars. Alexei stands beside her, rifle ready. The forest behind them looks darker now, the shadows between the trees deeper than they should be. At 3 meters, the drill suddenly lurches. The motor whines, and the bit stops spinning. "What happened?" Victor shouts. I kill the power and check the shaft. The bit is jammed, not stuck on ice, stuck on something else. I can feel resistance in the line, like the bit is caught on fabric or kelp. "Back it out," Victor says. I reverse the motor. The drill groans and begins pulling free inch by inch. When the bit finally breaks the surface, I see what stopped it. Rope. Thick, braided cord wrapped around the bit, like it was deliberately placed there. The material is old, frayed, but still strong, and tied to one end is a rusted metal tag with Cyrillic lettering stamped into it. Victor takes the tag and brushes off the ice. His face goes pale. "What does it say?" I ask. "Soviet Hydrological Survey. Station Black Lake, 1956. We stare at each other. Then we look at the rope. It does not just hang loose. It runs down into the hole we drilled, disappearing into the dark water below. "Someone anchored something down there," Victor says, "or something pulled the anchor down." I grab the rope and pull. It holds firm. Whatever is on the other end is heavy, too heavy to be just a weight. I pull harder, hand over hand, and feel the line shift. Something moves beneath the ice. "Stop!" Sarah's voice crackles over the radio. "Captain, stop pulling." "Why?" "The thermal signatures are moving. All 3 of them. They are converging on your position." I drop the rope and look at the monitor Victor is holding. The 3 shapes are no longer stationary. They are gliding toward us, moving faster than they should. The distance closes from 300 meters to 200, then 100. "Get off the ice," I order. We grab the drill and start running. The ice beneath our feet shudders. Cracks spiderweb out from the drill site, thin black lines racing across the surface. A deep groan rises from below, resonating through the frozen lake like the call of something ancient and aware. Victor reaches shore first and drags the drill to safety. I am right behind him, boots slipping on the smooth surface. Alexei is screaming for me to move faster. The cracks are spreading, chasing me like veins of lightning. I hit the shore and dive into the snow. The ice behind me buckles and splits with a sound like a cannon shot. Water surges up through the fracture, black and thick, steaming in the cold air. The drill hole collapses in on itself, sealing shut as if the lake is healing its own wound. We lie there, panting, staring at the ice. The cracks stop growing. The water recedes. And slowly the lake falls silent again. "What the hell was that?" Alexei gasps. Sarah is checking the radar. Her hands shake as she hikes through the data. "They are stationary again, back in their original positions." "They responded," Victor says. "We disturbed the ice, and they responded." "That is not possible," Sarah insists. "There is no sensory mechanism sophisticated enough to detect drilling vibrations from that depth and react within seconds." "Then explain what we just saw." She cannot. None of us can. I stand and brush the snow off my parka. My heart is still hammering. The rope is still down there, anchored to something the Soviets left behind 60 years ago. And whatever is beneath that ice knows we are here. "Pack up the drill," I say. "We are moving to the old research station. If the Soviets found something here, there will be records." We reach the abandoned Soviet station just before dark. The structures are exactly as they appeared in the satellite images. 4 wooden huts arranged in a square, all sagging under the weight of snow and time. The watchtower has collapsed, but the antenna mast still stands, leaning heavily to one side. The main hut door is frozen shut. Victor kicks it twice before it breaks inward. Inside, the air smells like mildew and rust. Tables are overturned. Papers scatter the floor, yellowed and brittle. A calendar on the wall is stopped at March 1957. "Spread out," I order. "Look for logs, journals, anything that explains what they were doing here." Sarah and Alexei take the second hut. Victor and I search the main building. I find a desk in the corner with drawers still intact. Inside is a leather binder stamped with Soviet insignia. I blow the dust off and flip it open. The pages are filled with handwritten notes in Russian. Victor translates as I turn the pages. Hydrological measurements, water temperature, ice depth, standard survey work. He pauses, then continues slowly. "Wait. Listen to this. March 12th, 1956. Sonar detected anomalous mass in Central Basin. Size estimated at 50 meters minimum. Attempt to deploy observation bell failed. Cable severed at 30 meters. Keep reading. March 20th. Second bell deployed with reinforced cable. Lowered to 40 meters. Observation window shows movement. Shape undefined. Crew reports extreme nausea and disorientation. Bell recalled immediately. Victor flips ahead. April 3rd. Third attempt. Bell reaches 45 meters. Observer reports direct visual contact. Description recorded but classified. Bell cable severed. Observer lost. He stops and looks at me. There is one more entry. May 1957. Final entry. It just says, "Station decommissioned. All personnel evacuated. Site sealed under Article 19. What is Article 19? I do not know, but they left in a hurry. A sound echoes from outside. Low, resonant, unmistakable. The same hum we heard last night, but louder now. Closer. We run to the door. The lake glows brighter than before, the blue light pulsing like a heartbeat, and on the radar Sarah is holding. All three shapes are rising, moving toward the surface. The radar screen shows 3 distinct thermal signatures ascending through the water column. 15 meters, 12 meters, 10. They are rising faster than anything that size should be able to move. Sarah's hand trembles as she holds the device, her eyes locked on the display. "They are coming up," she whispers. "They are actually coming up." Victor grabs his rifle and chambers around. The metallic click echoes in the frozen silence. Alexei backs toward the hut, his face drained of color. I step forward, positioning myself between my team and the lake. "Everyone stay calm," I say, but my voice sounds hollow even to me. The blue glow beneath the ice intensifies. It pulses in rhythm with that deep hum we have been hearing since we arrived. The light grows brighter, painting the snow around us in pale azure. I can feel the vibration through my boots now, not just a tremor. A deliberate, rhythmic pounding that matches a heartbeat. 8 meters, 6 meters, 4. The shapes slow their ascent. They hover just beneath the surface, 3 massive forms that distort the ice above them. The frozen surface bows slightly under some unseen pressure. Cracks appear, thin lines spreading from directly above each shape. Then they stop. For a long moment, nothing moves. We stand frozen, weapons ready, barely breathing. The hum continues its steady pulse. The light holds, and beneath the ice, the shapes remain motionless, as if waiting. "Why did they stop?" Alexei asks, his voice cracking. "They are watching us," Victor says quietly, "just like we are watching them." Sarah adjusts the thermal scanner, her scientific training overriding her fear. The thermal output has changed. It is concentrated now, focused, almost like they are channeling heat to specific areas. What areas? The ice directly above them. "Captain, if they concentrate enough heat, they could—" A sharp crack cuts her off. The ice above the nearest shape fractures with the sound of a gunshot. Water surges up through the break, steaming in the frigid air. The shape beneath shifts slightly, and for the first time I see it clearly. It is not a submarine. It is not a whale or any aquatic creature I have ever seen. The form is elongated, segmented, with what appear to be articulated sections running along its length. The surface is dark, almost black, with a texture that looks organic but too uniform, too perfect. Ridges run along its sides, and at intervals I can see protrusions that might be sensors or appendages. The front end tapers to a structure that resembles a head, but without any features I recognize. No eyes, no mouth, just a smooth, curved surface that somehow conveys awareness. Jesus Christ, Victor breathes. What is that thing? Before anyone can answer, the shape descends. Slowly, deliberately, it sinks back into the depths. The other two follow, moving in perfect synchronization. Within seconds, they are gone. The cracks in the ice seal themselves as the water refreezes. The light fades. The hum diminishes to barely a whisper. The lake returns to silence. We stand there for what feels like hours, but is probably only minutes. Finally, Sarah lowers the scanner. They were testing us, probing, seeing how we would react. To what end? I ask. I do not know, but they are intelligent. That much is certain. We retreat to the Soviet hut and secure the door. It is flimsy protection, but it is better than standing exposed on the ice. I light a chemical heater, and we gather around it, hands extended toward the meager warmth. We need to report this, Alexei says. His hands shake as he pulls off his gloves. We need extraction. Now. The SATCOM is not transmitting, Sarah says. I tried during the ascent. Something is interfering with the signal. What kind of interference? I do not know, but it is deliberate. The frequency is being jammed. Victor slams his fist on the table. So we are cut off. No communication, no extraction. Trapped here with three of those things swimming beneath us. We are not trapped, I say firmly. We complete the mission. We gather data, document everything, and find a way to get a message out. Document what? That we found something we cannot explain, something that violates every principle of marine biology and physics. That is exactly what we document. I turn back to the Soviet binder and continue reading the entries Victor translated earlier. There has to be more. Some explanation for what happened here in 1957 and why the station was abandoned. Near the back, I find a series of entries dated April 1957. The handwriting is different from the earlier notes. Rushed, erratic. Victor reads over my shoulder and translates quietly. April 14th. 3 weeks since observer Volkov was lost. We attempted recovery of the bell, found pieces of the cable at 20 meters. The severing was clean. Too clean. Not mechanical failure. Something cut it. He pauses, then continues. April 18th. Sonar tracking shows the masses have changed behavior. They no longer move randomly. They circle, always maintaining equal distance from each other, always watching the station. April 22nd. We hear them at night. The hum resonates through the ice, through the buildings. Sleep is impossible. Gregorov has developed nosebleeds. Petlenko refuses to leave his bunk. Victor's voice drops lower. April 29th. Station Commander Volkov authorized final observation attempt. Not a bell this time. A diver. Full atmospheric suit. Reinforced cable. Observer. Senior Technician Malikov. Descent to 30 meters. He reported visual contact. Description follows. The next page is heavily redacted. Black ink obscures most of the text, but a few words remain visible. Segmented, biological machinery, deliberate construction, and at the bottom, circled twice. Not natural, not ours. What does that mean? Sarah asks. Not ours? Soviet, I say. Not Soviet. Which means they thought it belonged to someone else. But who? The Americans did not have anything like this in the 50s. No one did. Victor finds another page tucked into the back of the binder. It is a telegram, yellowed and brittle. The text is in Russian, but the meaning is clear even before he translates. Immediate evacuation ordered. Station Black Lake designated restricted zone under military authority. All records classified. Personnel sworn to secrecy. Failure to comply. Article 19. What is Article 19? Alexei asks. State secrets law, Victor explains. Violation means imprisonment, or worse. I set the binder down and look at each member of my team. They found the same thing we did. They documented it, classified it, and ran. Whatever's down there has been here for decades, maybe longer. So, what do we do? Sarah asks. We do what they did not. We figure out what they are. That night, we take shifts. 2 awake, 2 resting. Victor and I take the first watch, while Sarah and Alexei try to sleep in the adjacent hut. The chemical heaters are running low, and the temperature inside has dropped to just above freezing. Our breath fogs continuously. Victor sits by the window watching the lake. You know what bothers me most? What? They have been here the entire time. Decades, maybe centuries. Just waiting beneath the ice. And no one knew. The Soviets knew, and they buried it, which means they were afraid. If the Soviet Union, at the height of its power, chose to run instead of study those things, what does that tell you? I do not answer. The question hangs in the cold air between us. At 0300 hours, the hum returns, louder than before. The walls of the hut vibrate. Dust sifts down from the rafters. I grab the thermal scanner and check the lake. All 3 shapes are active, but they are not ascending. They are moving laterally, circling the lake in a coordinated pattern. Each one maintains perfect distance from the others, like satellites in orbit. They are doing something, Victor says. This is not random. I watch the pattern for several minutes. The shapes complete 1 full rotation, then begin another. The precision is unnerving. Call Sarah. She needs to see this. Sarah arrives within seconds, already dressed and alert. She takes the scanner and studies the display. Her eyes widen. This is a search pattern. Military grade. They are mapping the perimeter. Mapping for what? I do not know, but they are looking for something or someone. The shapes complete 3 full rotations before stopping. They return to their original positions and go still. The hum fades. The lake falls silent once more. They know we are here, Victor says. They knew the moment we drilled into the ice. Then why have they not done anything? Alexei asks. He stands in the doorway, wrapped in a thermal blanket. His face is gaunt, his eyes hollow. Maybe they are waiting for permission, Sarah suggests. Permission from who? No one answers. By dawn, the temperature has dropped another 10 degrees. The wind picks up, driving snow horizontally across the ice. Visibility drops to less than 50 meters. We huddle in the main hut, burning the last of our chemical heaters and rationing what remains of our food. I pull out my field notebook and begin writing a formal report. Date, time, observations, thermal readings, descriptions of the shapes. Everything documented in precise military language. If we do not make it out, at least there will be a record. Captain, Sarah is checking the communications equipment. I got a brief window. The interference dropped for about 30 seconds. I managed to send a compressed data packet. What did you send? Everything. Radar scans, thermal imaging, photographs of the Soviet documents. If command received it, they know what we found. And if they did not, then we are on our own. Victor stands abruptly and moves to the window. Something is wrong. I join him. Through the blowing snow, I see movement on the ice, not the shapes beneath. Something on the surface. A dark mass crawling across the frozen lake toward our position. What is that? Alexei whispers. I grab binoculars and focus through the storm. At first, I cannot make sense of what I am seeing. Then the image resolves, and my blood runs cold. It is rope. Hundreds of meters of thick, braided rope, moving like a living thing. The same type we found wrapped around our drill bit. It snakes across the ice in smooth, deliberate coils, leaving deep tracks in the snow. That is not possible, Sarah breathes. But it is happening. The rope is moving on its own, crawling like a serpent, drawing closer to the station with each passing second. And at the end of the line, Something else emerges from the drill hole we made earlier. A shape, dark, dripping, rising from beneath the ice. It is not one of the massive forms we saw on radar. This is smaller, human-sized, but wrong. All wrong. The proportions are distorted. The movement is too fluid, too perfect. Everyone back, I order, away from the windows. We retreat to the center of the hut. Victor chambers around. Sarah clutches the scanner like a lifeline. Alexei just stares, his mouth open, his face blank with shock. The shape reaches the shore and pauses. Through the frost-covered window, I see it turn toward the station. And even though it has no face, no features I can identify, I know with absolute certainty that it sees us. The rope coils around it like armor, and then it starts walking. The shape stops 10 meters from the hut. Through the frosted window, I watch it stand motionless in the blowing snow. The rope coils around its body in patterns that look almost decorative, almost purposeful. Steam rises from its surface, the heat melting the snow at its feet. Whatever it is, it generates warmth, life, or something that mimics life so perfectly I cannot tell the difference. What do we do? Alexei's voice cracks. He has his rifle raised, but his hands shake so badly the barrel wavers. Hold fire, I order. We do not shoot unless it makes a hostile move. It walked out of the ice, Victor hisses. That is hostile enough. It is standing there, waiting. Just like they did underwater. Sarah moves to the thermal scanner. I am reading a temperature of 37 degrees Celsius. Body temperature. Human body temperature. That is impossible. I know what I am reading. The shape tilts forward slightly, as if examining the station. No face, no eyes, but the movement conveys curiosity. Intent. I think of the Soviet reports. Observer lost. Pieces of cable recovered. And I wonder if what stands before us now is what happened to observer Volkov 68 years ago. Captain? Sarah's voice drops to barely a whisper. The radar. The 3 large signatures. They are directly beneath us. I grab the scanner. She is right. All 3 massive shapes have moved into position under the station. They form a perfect triangle with us at the center. The trap is complete. We need to leave, I say. Now, grab only essential gear. We move west into the forest. And go where? Victor demands. The extraction point is 40 kilometers. We will freeze before we make it halfway. Then we die trying instead of waiting here to become another Soviet classified file. We pack in silence, 1 ruck per person. Weapons, rations, chemical heaters, the Soviet binder with its redacted secrets. I take one last look at the research we gathered, the photographs, the data, everything Sarah transmitted in that brief window. If command received it, they know. If not, we are the only witnesses. Victor cracks the door. The wind screams through the gap, driving snow into the hut. The shape has moved. It is circling to cut off our exit west. Then we go south. Follow the shoreline until we are clear, then cut inland. South is deeper ice. If we break through, we die. I know, but staying here is not an option. We file out into the storm. The cold hits like a physical blow. Visibility is less than 20 meters. The wind tears at our clothing, finding every gap, every weakness. I lead with Victor behind me, then Sarah, then Alexei, bringing up the rear. The shape is gone. Snow has already filled its tracks. We move along the southern shore, keeping the lake to our left. The ice groans beneath our boots. Each step feels like tempting fate. Sarah keeps the thermal scanner active, calling out positions. The 3 large signatures are following us, pacing us underwater. How close? 20 meters offshore, maintaining parallel course. They are not attacking. They are herding us. We push into the forest where the ice gives way to frozen ground. The trees provide some shelter from the wind, but the darkness between them is absolute. I pull out a flashlight. The beam cuts through the snow, revealing twisted trunks and low-hanging branches heavy with ice. Behind us, something moves. I spin, rifle raised. Victor does the same. The forest is silent, except for the wind. No footsteps, no breathing. But I can feel it. That same pressure, that sense of being watched by something that does not need eyes to see. Keep moving, I say. We push deeper into the woods. The terrain rises, forcing us to climb over fallen logs and navigate through dense undergrowth. Alexei falls twice, exhausted. Victor hauls him up each time without a word. After an hour, we find a small clearing and stop to rest. Sarah checks the scanner. We are 2 kilometers from the lake. The signatures have stopped at the shoreline. Why did they stop? Alexei asks between gasps. Maybe they cannot leave the water, Sarah suggests. Or maybe they do not need to. Victor points back the way we came. Rope. Dozens of lines of it, snaking through the snow between the trees, moving, searching. The braided cords slide over roots and around trunks like they have a mind of their own. And at the head of each line, I see shapes forming. Human-sized, dark, pulling themselves from the rope like insects emerging from cocoons. Run, I breathe. We scramble up the slope. Behind us, the shapes move with impossible speed. No stumbling, no hesitation. They flow through the forest like water finding a path. I fire a burst from my rifle. The rounds hit one of the shapes and pass through it, striking the trees beyond. No blood, no damage, just ripples in its surface like I shot into dark liquid. They are not solid, Sarah screams. We crest the ridge and find ourselves at the edge of a ravine, 20 meters across. A frozen stream runs at the bottom, barely visible through the blowing snow. No way around. No time to climb down. The shapes emerge from the tree line. 6 of them. 7. More forming every second. They stop at the edge of the clearing and stand in a perfect line, waiting. Victor raises his rifle. We jump. We will break our legs, I say. Better than what they will do. He has a point. I look at Sarah, then Alexei. On 3. Stay together, roll when you land. 1. The shapes step forward in unison. 2. The rope coils at their feet, preparing to strike. 3. We jump. The fall seems to last forever. Snow and wind blur everything. Then I hit the slope, rolling, tumbling, pain shooting through my shoulder. I slam into the frozen stream at the bottom and lie there gasping. Victor lands beside me with a grunt. Sarah hits hard, but gets up immediately. Alexei crashes into the bank and does not move. Alexei. I crawl to him and roll him over. Blood streams from his nose. His eyes are open but unfocused. Stay with me. Above us, the shapes line the ridge. They do not follow. They just watch as we drag ourselves upright and stumble down the ravine, away from Black Lake, away from whatever intelligence lurks beneath its ice. We walk for hours, maybe longer. Time loses meaning. The storm intensifies, then fades, then intensifies again. My watch stops working. The cold makes every movement agony. Alexei is barely conscious, supported between Victor and me. When we finally see lights ahead, I think I am hallucinating, but Sarah confirms it. Settlement. Maybe 3 kilometers. We push forward with the last of our strength. The lights grow brighter. Buildings take shape. A small village, barely a dozen structures. Wood smoke rises from chimneys. Dogs bark in the distance. We collapse at the first house. A woman opens the door, her face shocked at the sight of 4 frost-covered soldiers on her doorstep. She shouts something in Russian. Victor responds weakly. She helps us inside, into warmth, into safety. I wake 3 days later in a medical facility in Yakutsk. American military personnel surround my bed. A colonel I do not recognize sits in a chair beside me. "Captain Steele," he says, "you are very lucky to be alive." My team? Lieutenant Blake and Sergeant Petrov are recovering. Private Romanov is in intensive care but stable. You will all be fine. I try to sit up. Black Lake. The shapes. Did you receive the data transmission? The colonel's expression does not change. I am not authorized to discuss operational details. What I can tell you is that your mission is complete. You are being reassigned, effective immediately. What about Black Lake? Classified. The things we saw are classified, as is this entire conversation. You and your team will be debriefed separately. You will sign non-disclosure agreements, and you will never speak of this again to anyone. Is that clear? I stare at him, then I nod slowly. Good. Get some rest, Captain. You have earned it. He leaves. I lie back on the bed and stare at the ceiling. Through the window, I see snow falling, soft, peaceful. Nothing like the storm that nearly killed us. But when I close my eyes, I see them. The shapes beneath the ice, the rope moving with purpose, the figure that emerged from the water. And I know, with absolute certainty, that whatever we found at Black Lake is still there, waiting, watching. 1 month later, I am back at Fort Bragg, reassigned to a training unit, desk duty. Sarah is at the Pentagon, working in a classified signals unit. Victor transferred to Germany. Alexei took medical retirement and disappeared into civilian life. We never speak. We cannot. The non-disclosure agreements make sure of that. But sometimes, late at night, I check the satellite feeds. I still have clearance for some databases. And when I search for Black Lake, I find something interesting. The lake is still monitored. Weekly thermal scans, quarterly radar sweeps. The data is flagged at the highest classification levels, and according to the most recent reports, the 3 shapes are still there. But there is something new. A 4th signature has appeared, smaller than the others, moving in tighter circles, like it is searching. And in the notes section, added by an analyst I will never meet, is a single sentence that makes my blood run cold. Pattern suggests coordinated reconnaissance behavior. Recommend increased surveillance. They are looking for something, or someone. I close the database and sit in the dark of my apartment. Outside, the world goes on. People live their lives, unaware of what lurks beneath the ice in a forgotten corner of Siberia. Unaware that something down there knows we exist, knows we came looking. The Soviets ran, we ran, and whoever comes next will run too, because some things are not meant to be understood, some doors are not meant to be opened, and some secrets buried beneath frozen water in the coldest parts of the world should stay exactly where they are. But they will not. Someone will go back. Someone always does. The military never leaves a mystery unsolved. And when they send the next team with better equipment and more resources, they will drill deeper than we did. They will push harder. They will demand answers. And whatever is down there, patient and ancient and impossibly aware, will be waiting. I hope I am wrong. I hope the 4th signature is nothing, just a glitch in the system, a data error, background noise. But deep down, I know better, because I remember the shape that walked out of the ice. I remember how it stood in the storm, watching our station, waiting. And I remember the rope that moved like it was alive, searching, hunting, never stopping. The lake is not just a body of water. It is not just a home to strange creatures or abandoned Soviet experiments. It is something more. A threshold, a boundary, a line between what we know and what we were never meant to discover. We crossed that line. We drilled into something we did not understand, and now, somewhere beneath the ice, they know we are here. The question is not whether they will come looking for us. The question is when, and what will they do when they find us? I do not sleep much anymore. When I do, I dream of Black Lake. I dream of standing on the ice, feeling it pulse beneath my feet. I dream of the blue light rising from the depths. I dream of shapes that move with purpose and intelligence that does not belong in our world. And sometimes, in those dreams, I hear that hum again. Deep, resonant, patient, waiting, always waiting. If you are reading this, if someone finds these words, know this. Black Lake is real. What we saw is real. And it is still there, beneath the ice, watching the surface, counting the days until someone comes back. Do not go looking. Do not ask questions. Do not drill into that ice. Because some secrets are better left frozen. And some things, once awakened, can never be put back to sleep.